Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today for this conversation between Beck Technology and Togal. My name is Alex Young, and I'm on the marketing team at Beck Technology. And we are so thrilled to have Johnny Maghzal, Head of Product Development for Togal, and Michael Boren, Chief Technology for Beck Technology, in conversation today. Additionally, I wanted to share some exciting news that we do have our Pre-Con World 2022 event coming up this October. That's October 13th through the 14th in Dallas, Texas. And I'll be sharing a link to that. So if you get to register or excited to hear more and find out more information about that, you can visit that page. So today's conversation again is with Johnny Maghzal of Togal and Michael Boren of Beck Technology. I want to give a big welcome to both of them. Thank them for being a part of today's conversation. And with that, I will hand it over to you all.
Thank you, Alex. Really appreciate that. I wanted to say, first off, I really wanted to appreciate everybody who came today, and hopefully we have some great questions that come out of this. Maybe to tee things off, as Chief Technology Officer of Beck Technology, I've been in this company, in this business for about 25 years, and we are not strangers to machine learning and artificial intelligence. And from our experience, there's a lot of hype and there's a lot of concern around tech like this. And what Johnny and I wanted to do is spend some time today to address the reality and versus the kind of the expectation that you might have coming into using new technologies such as machine learning and AI generated takeoff. From our experience, kind of the clarity creates trust. And for us today, Johnny and I wanted to have a really candid conversation about what to expect from technology like Togal as we move into the future. So Johnny, I really appreciate you taking the time today, sitting with me, and maybe sitting right in the crosshairs of the firing line as we ask some pretty straightforward questions. But I wanted to kind of just get the reality on the table when it comes to automated takeoff and machine learning. And what I thought I would do is just ask you a couple of questions, a handful of questions that we receive all the time when we talk to our customers and some of their concerns, in hopes that we can get that clarity. How does that sound?
Definitely. Thank you so much, first of all, Mike and Alex, and thanks for people attending. And yes, I would love to answer those questions. I receive a lot of those questions as well, so hopefully I've been exposed to them. So let's see. Let's see. I hope I can answer them well.
Well, hey, first off, man, you know, the question right out of the gate that we always get asked is, when it comes to a machine doing something like 2D takeoff, is, you know, how do I trust what comes back from that tech?
Yeah, I kind of expect this question. Let me think about it. Okay. Well, let me put it this way. Like in 2001, my father has like shops. He sells goods. So in 2001, I introduced to him Excel, right? And I was like 11 years old, so I showed him how you can like do sum inside Excel, right? So and the guy was so hyped, he liked it. But like after 2 weeks, I was seeing him using Excel, but on the side he had a calculator. I was like, "What are you doing, man?" He was like, "Maybe this software makes a mistake. I'm just checking the numbers." So why I am saying that, because my short answer to this question is trust will come with usage and time. And again, if you see Excel, the biggest competitor for all of us in construction tech is Excel, basically, right? Because everybody uses Excel at this point. But that being said, even though we think and we are sure that trust will come with time and with usage and with better enhancements of models, we think very well that us as a software vendor, we can do great job on building a good user interface and user experience for the user, to make them feel that this tool or whatever we are building is still accommodating their users, right? Like, quickly to explain, the way we put Togal as a product, we make it so flexible that the user can do any takeoff, whatever they want. We don't give them a like out of the box output that they cannot manipulate or they cannot change. We are so into the idea of augmentation instead of automation. And again, we can discuss this maybe later if we have some time. But our aim is to basically remove annoying tasks from the estimator, like clicking and dragging and things like that. But again, going back to the main question, how do we increase trust, is first by the output. We make sure that our output looks well, even though, for example, one thing, Mike, in like 4 or 5 months ago, our output in terms of area was very accurate, but sometimes the lines would be a little bit squiggly, right? That has a big effect on visually how the estimators feels when they go to bed, right? Oh, my output is a little bit squiggly. So we work heavily on those visual aspects. So this is how people will trust it. They will need to use it. They will need to make sure that first understand what it's trying to achieve. We're not trying to solve all the world's problem with this AI. We are trying to remove repetitive and annoying tasks from the estimator. So hopefully that was a good way to answer the question.
Well, I appreciate that. So maybe at a high level, what I hear you
Yes.
saying is that in order to trust what comes back, the first thing we need to do is start to use it. And kind of like your example with your father, which I think that's a really cool story, and I feel like I can relate to on a handful of levels. Is, you know, you've got to, you know, you're gonna spend probably a little bit of time getting the results back and verifying. So I think our users and our teams will probably have that metaphorical calculator sitting next to them for a little while as they make sure that what they get back from, you know, from the tool is right. But over time, that trust is going to build, is what I hear you saying.
Yes, exactly. Again, you will need to use it, see what it can automate, what it cannot, and where it does not automate. We as a vendor, again, we have to provide easy ways for the user to get from point A to point B, right? All they need to do is finish the takeoff quickly, regardless of the underlying technology. So that's how we basically approach it.
Got it. Well, and for those people who may have joined the call and aren't very familiar with Togal, you know, what we're really talking about here is the ability to send a set of drawings to your technology at Togal, and that will automatically interpret those drawings and generate that 2D quantity takeoff. And, you know, some of the things, like you mentioned before, you talked about the lines sometimes being squiggly, especially in those really early days, you know, when you're trying to get your foundation, your footing underneath you. You know, what we've experienced is sometimes, you know, the very first reaction that a lot of people give when they see your tech is they're like, okay, I'm going to take and find the most complicated set of drawings, and we're going to break this thing right out of the gate, because, you know, if they can handle this thing, they can handle anything, right? True. And ultimately what happens is some portion from our personal experience, you know, it's you know, probably less than 4 or 5% tops on those drawings, but some portion of those takeoffs, they do come back and they really need to be cleaned up, so to speak, you know. And so, like, given that you still have to clean up those things that come back, is it really that much more efficient? I mean, really?
Yes, actually we hear that as well a lot. So there is, let's see, there are a couple of points here. So I will be quick as I can, right? So with obviously with new tech, the way we do things is different. And why I'm saying this, because in Togal, the way we do things became different. Before, we used to create when we are doing takeoffs. Now we are adjusting, right? The AI is giving you something, and then you are taking that something and adjusting it. So obviously there is something changing here, and I will get back to that. But the whole idea of Togal is that, again, this concept of augmenting rather than automating. This is how we see it, right? If a drawing, let's see if I can share my screen here. Share the screen. Oops. Let's see. Share the screen. Yes.
Get the wrong one. Oh, there you go.
Yeah. Can you see my screen? So if a drawing like this, for example, right? If a drawing like this takes a user 45 minutes, 30 minutes to 45 minutes to maybe do the takeoff on, right? With Togal, we can give you this output that you see here in like 10 to 50 seconds. This is depending on internet speed, but this is irrelevant because, again, in Togal you can run drawings parallel. But if with Togal we can give you this in 10 seconds, and the user spends 3 to 4 minutes on it between cleaning, assigning, and doing things like that, we still think that we brought a lot of efficiency. We went from like 40 minutes to 4 or 5 minutes, right? So that's a lot of efficiency. But again, the stigma is that this is a new way of doing stuff and we need time to learn it. But there is another dimension to this, is how does the cleaning happen and how quickly you can clean stuff, right? So for that reason, we have created some tools like merge, cut, split, the ones that you see over here. These things are made to speed up this cleaning process, right? And this is where our biggest effort now is in our customer success work, is to teach our users that they can clean stuff, even there is cleaning, right? Clean stuff and edit stuff and adjust stuff very quickly inside Togal. Again, some of these tools don't exist in any other tool in the market right now. We had to come up with them because, again, we are just doing things differently. So that's basically the main idea. We have some innovative tools that we've created to help with augmenting the estimator. Again, this is the new, again, the same concept that we want to augment the estimator. And I really like to talk about the super estimator, right? We have an estimator, now we are just pushing the productivity a little more. We are not claiming to remove the estimator or something.
I really like that perspective. Yeah, I think that's a great perspective to think about taking our estimating teams and making them even better. I like that. You know, so what I heard you say is that, and I want to make sure I heard this right, that drawing you just showed, that's 10 seconds worth of takeoff in Togal?
Yes, like Togal will give you output on this drawing, for example, in 10 to 40 seconds, again, depending on internet speed. There are a lot of aspects that affect the speed of things, but yes, somewhere between 10 to 40 seconds will give you the output. Again, I'm showing you this, but it's basically 4 types of takeoffs, right? We have 4 types of takeoffs. We have the areas with the walls, areas without the walls, we have the walls themselves, and then we have the counts, right? So we are doing 4 types of takeoffs in 10 to 40 seconds. So take it from there, put 4 or 5 minutes on it, whatever it is, if it's 40 minutes or an hour, right? We still think there's a lot of efficiency in that perspective. So
I mean, you're getting 90% more efficient based off of those numbers.
Yes,
right.
Exactly. You can look at it like that, exactly.
So that's impressive. So, and the other thing I heard you say, which I think is interesting, is given that we aren't focusing on creating the takeoff as much, the tools that are being generated now are different, because really what we need to focus on is being able to manipulate the takeoff better. And I think that's something that you and I see the world in a similar way here, and that you created some very innovative tools on adjusting that takeoff, like the split and the merge. You know, when it comes to tools like, you know, Beck Technology, we're focusing very heavily on being able to consume that generated takeoff as fast as possible. So, you know, allowing them to sort, filter, identify common things, you know, tie that to cost as quickly as possible. And I think the combination of those 2 sets of tools is probably going to drive a shift in focus, I would imagine, away from, you know, I need to be able to sketch as fast as possible, to I need to be able to handle what is already sketched as fast as possible.
Yeah. And again, estimating is 2 pieces, right? Quantities and cost. You all are doing great on cost in Beck Tech, and our integration will obviously give another dimension to the takeoff tool that already exists in Estimator. So yes, definitely. Again, with Togal, we are focusing on the takeoff only, just because we want to be focused and put all our effort on making the best takeoff tool. But again, this partnership will bring another level of productivity.
Well, I agree. I'm excited about it as well. So yeah, I appreciate the kind words. Well, I guess moving on, this is kind of the last big question I had for you, and we get this a lot. So I think there's just some concern that, you know, in the market, that you've got technology that's basically trying to replace people. And the question I have for you is, do you expect the software to be able to replace the work that an estimator does during takeoff, during that takeoff phase?
This is actually a very dear question to myself, because I was an estimator before joining Togal, right? Yes, actually, I have very good answer for this, because I really think about it a lot, because a lot of my friends are still estimators and they tell me the same thing. So there are two views when it comes to this. There is the estimator and there is the manager estimate, the estimating manager or the pre-con manager, right? I personally think that definitely not. I don't ever think this type of AI will replace the estimator for one or two reasons. Again, as I said before, I think this just will take the estimator to a new level of contribution. But why I'm saying it will never replace it? Because there is so much art in estimating that we sometimes don't appreciate as estimators. We don't appreciate our skills. There is a lot of knowledge in the human brain, Mike, that is not on the drawings. A lot of assumptions are not on the drawings, are not on the specs. So what I'm trying to say is that how are we expecting this machine to know what type of flooring this room is if there is nothing being called for, right? Most of the time in budget phases and things like that. So again, this takes us to the point I just repeated, because it is what we are, right? The point of augmenting rather than automating. We don't want to give a black box. Hey, this is what you have and you have to deal with it. We gave you an output. We will never achieve adoption in our entire life if we adopt this view, right? So we go back to augmentation. We want the estimator, we want their knowledge, we want them still there, but we just don't want them to spend time click, drag. They have a lot of things that are more valuable to them. They graduate from schools, spending 3-4 years. They want to do stuff that are interesting, building relationship with subcontractors, value engineering, trying to save money for the owner, all this stuff. So this is from the estimator point of view, right? From the pre-con manager point of view, I heard this a lot. Like some pre-con managers tell me, I don't want this tool to automate everything, because I want my people to learn the system. I want them to learn the project. I want to learn how systems come together. I want to, if I have an entry level estimator, what am I expecting them to accept an output from a machine, you know? So all these things that I'm telling you about, again, this fact of augmenting rather than automating, not only like helps us as Toggle to achieve our goals slowly, but it drives adoption, because now people are trusting something that gave them some output. They put their blessing, they put their touch on that output, and they are now good to go, good to use it, and everybody is happy. Again, the estimator will never be replaced, as I deeply feel. And the pre-con manager now is confident that their estimators are learning the project and still learning the system of the project. So this is my take on this again. So hopefully that also answered the question well for everybody.
Well, you know, you said something there that I've heard many times in the past,
Yeah,
and that is that, you know, getting the estimators to go through that set of drawings is a fundamental part in understanding the job. And you know, to your point specifically, you know, even if the type of flooring, you mentioned flooring earlier, even if that type of flooring was specified, you know, in the drawing, the one thing that that pre-construction team and that estimator bring to the table that the machine is probably never going to be able to figure out is, does that make sense? You know, is that right? You know, so if you've got, you know, a covering that's just, that it doesn't make any sense, that you wouldn't put that down, or you're missing all the backing information that would enable that covering to be put in place in the first place. You know, like that stuff.
That's the art piece, Mike, right? That's the art piece we're talking about, huh?
Yeah. So I agree. I agree that, you know, they still have to do that. And what I heard you say was that that doesn't go away. You know, so what I heard you say was, even though the machine is generating all of this takeoff, they're still learning the drawings. Could you go a little bit deeper into how are they still learning the drawings when the machine is just spitting back all the takeoff?
So this is, yes, actually. So what Toggle does, right? It's give you out the polygons, draws the polygons in their location, divides the spaces and segment the spaces, gives you the walls, gives you the counts. But the same estimator, depending on the day they are on, actually, if it's in the morning or at night, they might be doing different takeoff on the same project, right? And the same polygon might be ceiling paint and be like a flooring in the same room, right? So how are we going to know what the estimator wants at this time and at this moment? How are we going to know what type of ceiling paint is it? Is it like 1 layer, 2 layers? So there is a lot of knowledge that are on the drawings, and fortunately and unfortunately, there is no much standardization in the industry. Like sometimes the information are not in the spec sheet; they are in the narrative. So who is going to guess where it is, right? So why do we want to solve this huge piece of a problem where the industry haven't solved it yet? So yes, exactly. So this is how they will learn it. They will have to go to the specs, know what type of flooring this is, and then they will just one click of a button, select all the spaces that have wood flooring, for example, and say, this is wood flooring. I understand it will take time, but it would have taken much more time to do it manually. And again, this is where augmenting rather than automating comes.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So what I hear you saying is it's not really the act of sketching all the different shapes, the dragging and all that stuff that you had to do. It's really the going through that document set and looking to see what's on the drawing, what's not on the drawing, what's in those spec sections and narratives, and putting together the whole picture. And that particular thing is going to enable you to still learn those drawing sets, but not have to go through and sketch all of the things.
Yes, exactly. 100%. That is the biggest, actually, this is the biggest value that we are preaching for. Like, this is what people spend 60% of their time doing, clicking and dragging. You know what type of flooring there is in those rooms, but you have to spend the time clicking and dragging. We will do the clicking and dragging. You know what is the flooring for this room. Just select those and right click, say this is wood flooring, and you are basically done from there.
Got it. Got it. Thank you. Yeah, that really actually helps clear a lot up. I appreciate that.
I hope so. I hope so, because again, we get these questions all the time, Mike. It's now our aim to deliver those messages to our customers or whoever we are. Like whenever we are doing our demos, whenever we are doing our onboarding, we are adding those messages because people again are expecting that the AI will do everything and all these topics that we just discussed.
Awesome. Well, those were kind of the big three, I would say, that we get all the time when it comes to discussing anything related to machine learning, or really the computer doing anything for our users. Those are almost the top three: is how do I trust it? Does it really save me any amount of time at all? And then, are you attempting in some way, shape, or form to replace me? And I think from my perspective, those are the really big concerns. Now, maybe now's a good time to hand it back over, if you're okay, Johnny, to Alex, and see if there's any questions we have from anybody that's viewing the webinar today.
Definitely. I think that's what we are here for.
Thank you so much, Mike. Thank you so much, Johnny. I always feel so energized coming out of these types of conversations where we're able to talk about things that we're passionate about, and obviously have a valued partner in Togal, not only as an industry partner, but as a sponsor of our upcoming Precon World 2022 event. I do have a couple of questions that came through during the conversation. Some of these might have already been answered, so apologies. But what are the most successful users on Togal? New home builders, contractors, others?
Cool. So that's actually a great question. So we have a variety of users when it comes that goes from general contractors, top A&R, to like general contractors that do like small level types of projects in most fields, residential, commercial, things like that. I will be also very candid. We have some subcontractors as well, but the way Togal is right now, it is for example, we don't have, for example, assemblies yet in Togal. This is something that we are working on. So there are some types of subcontractors that we serve on a certain level of output that they are very happy with, like high level output. But we have subcontractors in many trades, from flooring, drywall, a lot of trades in subcontracting. But again, we don't have like a specific type of like market when it comes to the product they build. We have more, like obviously more general contractors than subcontractors, but it is a big variety of types of customers.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Johnny. Our next question is, at any point in the future, will there be a full integration of Togal in the Beck DESTINI suite of products?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. What I would encourage maybe our viewers to do is attend the Precon World Conference that'll be in Dallas in October. I think October 14th might be a good time to show up in Dallas and see for yourself what's coming.
Right, great teaser there, Mike. Our next question is, does Togal have a catalog of takeoff items, or do takeoff items get generated from each project?
So yeah, this question, I will try to answer it quickly, but it needs more time. But so Togal, I'm assuming people are asking for the counts because we count certain objects automatically inside Togal, and we currently have a catalog of 8 or 9 items that they are pre-built, and Togal looks for those items as pre-built items. We always adding more items to the list. So we started with like 4 items, now we have 9. Currently, we are labeling electrical and mechanical fixtures as well, and those going to be a lot. We are still in labeling process, like a month or 2. But again, all the objects that Togal predicts, they are predefined objects. That being said, we are building a tool inside Togal which does like the auto count, similar like the auto count feature that exists on the market, but we are building an auto count feature that will be augmented with machine learning, because the current features that now exist can be a little bit tricked easily with noise, just because of the fact of how the algorithms are built. We are building one that will ignore noise and will be able to be more robust in predicting the symbol that the user basically provides. So that way we will be able to cater for users that have symbols that Togal does not have pre-built in it.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Johnny. We're going to take one more question, and then I just want to remind everyone that if you did submit your questions today, not only will this webinar conversation be available at a later time for viewing, but any questions that we're not able to get to it today will be answered by someone who's been a part of today's conversation or a member of our team. So thanks everyone for the questions. Our last question will be, do national home builders and developers of MDU multifamily, is that a good fit for Togal?
Yes, can you just, sorry, Alex, can you ask the question again?
Absolutely. Are national home builders and developers of MDU multifamily units a good fit?
Yes, definitely. They are good fit because we have a lot of residential type, like contractors that do residential type of work, and obviously homeowners as well, and like owners on the other, like even if it's an owner representative or owners, we have also customers that are on that side of the seat when it comes to construction. So my answer is definitely yes.
Wonderful. That concludes our question portion today and our webinar. I want to give a big thanks again to Johnny and Mike for their candor and answering all of those incredible questions during today's conversation. Again, I will remind everyone that we do have our Precon World 2022 event coming up October 13th through the 14th, of which Togal is a sponsor of. So we are very grateful to them and hope to see everyone in Dallas for that event. Thank you so much, Johnny. Thank you so much, Mike. Thanks everyone today.
Thanks, Alex. Thanks everyone. Michael, thank you so much. Thanks.